Your tenant comes into your office and asks you to remove her boyfriend from the lease. It turns out her boyfriend's either in jail or left Florida and she wants him removed from the lease. Do you do it? Can you do it? My name is Harry Heist and I'm the founding partner of Heist, Weisse Wolk, the property manager's partner. The property manager will face a situation at some point where a tenant wishes that their roommate, their spouse, the other tenant is removed from the lease. You can't just remove someone from a lease. A lease is a legally binding document. It's a contract. It's a contract between the owner of the property and between the tenants, all the tenants who signed the lease. So as much as the remaining tenant would want their boyfriend or husband to be removed from the lease, you can't just simply remove someone from a lease. You must think about the security deposit. What happens to the security deposit? When they move in, both of them moved in and both are on the lease, and we have a security deposit hanging out there. If we were to just remove somebody from a lease, how would the security deposit be affected? Let's say you do agree that someone will be removed from a lease. You talk to the owner said, fine, take him off the lease. And he's in agreement that he's taken off of the lease. So everyone's in agreement that he's taken off of the lease. What about the security deposit? You don't want the person who you take off the lease to come back 6 months later when the lease is being renewed, or 6 months later when the remaining tenant is now vacating. You don't want that person coming back and making any claim to the security deposit. And it happens. If you're going to remove someone from a lease, all parties must be in agreement. The person who's leaving, the person who's staying, the owner of the property. Or if you sign on behalf of the owner, then you would, of course, have to sign the form. It's called a tenant vacating addendum. And that tenant vacating addendum will clearly state that the person is being removed from the lease. Everyone is in agreement with this. But most importantly, the person being removed from the lease is now relinquishing any claim whatsoever to the security deposit. Anytime you remove someone from a lease, you want that person to relinquish their claim to the security deposit, so when it comes time to process the deposit, you don't have to deal with that person who left. You don't have to send a claim to that person who left. The person who's leaving is wiping their hands clean of the security deposit. Now, if you add someone to a lease, we have a tenant addition addendum. And this is where all parties are in agreement that someone is being added to the lease. And again, we have to think about the security deposit. Focus on the security deposit. We don't want the person who's being added to the lease to have a right to the security deposit unless that's the intention of all the parties. Most likely it isn't. Most likely the person who is already there, they're the ones who paid the security deposit. And they had no intention of the person moving in with them to have a right to the security deposit at time of move out. So we need to think about the security deposit whenever we're adding a tenant to the lease or whenever we're taking a tenant off of a lease. Don't forget, use the right form and make sure everyone is on the same page. If you have any questions regarding this or any other topic, please feel free to email us at info@evict.com.